Sorry, this is not supposed to be a Hamilton episode, but here we
No,
are.
this is not a Hamilton episode. This is... It has been requested by one of our listeners that I sing more, Lauren. I don't know what you think of that.
Listen, I saw that and I think it's just simply amazing. So I agree. Hit it.
I agree too. I'm gonna do this. This episode's gonna be the Hamilton of our podcast.
Oh dear God. We haven't prepared a musical, Lisa. I'm not ready.
It's okay. I don't even know any Hamilton songs. That's how bad I am. I really don't.
Dude, okay, listen. It blew up like crazy, so it makes sense. People got tired of it, but it's still a legit good musical.
I'm gonna say it. I did not enjoy Hamilton.
Ah, really? I'm interested as to why.
I don't know. I mean, I think like a lot of it probably had to do with, I guess I just don't care that much about history like that in my musicals.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, if they had done a musical about just some random Revolutionary War people, I don't know, maybe, but like, I don't know. I just don't care that much about history. And it's kind of funny too, because it's like, I literally live in the Hamilton of it. I mean,
yeah,
like, you know, so yeah. So like, but yeah, I didn't, sorry guys. I didn't like Hamilton. I don't know what to tell you, but I didn't. So,
I mean, that makes sense if you didn't care, if you're not a big history person. I will say I didn't think I would care about it because I have a friend he's a big theater nerd and everything, so he actually told me about Hamilton before it blew up, and I remember being like, okay, whatever, I don't really care. Like, and then when I was in college, I made the mistake, but a good mistake for Hamilton fans, but I made the mistake of listening to, like, I listened to the soundtrack first before I ever saw anything, because all you could see at the time was like really bad, like bootlegs that you're not supposed to have, obviously. So I listened to the soundtrack for some reason at 7 a.m. on the bus going to class. And it was insane. Like, I just got all my feelings. It does a good job telling a story. But again, I get what you're saying, especially maybe I wonder if listening to the songs before putting the like historical like costumes and everything to it might have made it better for you, but who knows?
That's possible, because I will say one show I really did enjoy was Six, and Six is a historical musical about the wives of Henry VIII, but it's like it's narratively done very differently. It's not, but yeah, I am going through my mind of like the musicals I really enjoyed, and I'm noticing I like comedy musicals. I loved The Book of Mormon. I love The Play That Goes Wrong. So I like to laugh. I think that's what it is. Hamilton didn't make me laugh. Sorry about it. Go home.
No, that's fair. I mean, there's some funny stuff in it, but yeah, it's definitely not the most comedic. So that's okay. Anyways, sorry, this is not supposed to be a Hamilton episode, but here we are.
No, this is not a Hamilton episode. This is Simply Amazing, aka the Nightcrawler podcast, where I almost said Nocturne. I don't know if you noticed that. And
I heard a little something there, but I was leaving it alone.
Yeah, and I was gonna ignore it, but then I was like, oh my God, how do I introduce the Nightcrawler episode? Like, so yeah, we're the Nightcrawler people. We love Nighty, we love Kurt, we love everything about it, and we know you do too, and that's why you tune into us periodically when we update. So so we're working to get ourselves caught up, but we're going to be updating a little bit less commonly in the next couple weeks, just because we have a lot of stuff going on in our personal lives with jobs and boyfriends and just line dancing and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I went line dancing this morning, you guys. So if you're like, why the hell does Lauren have so much energy compared to other episodes? It's because I went line dancing this morning.
She was country this morning. Country with a set.
Okay, listen, line dancing is everything, but we ended on a Cupid shuffle. That was the best part, because the instructor was like, all right, I want to end on something that a lot of people know, but maybe not everybody knows, because there are a lot of older people in the class, like, and I'm a millennial, so, but I was like, Cupid shuffle. When she said Cupid shuffle, I literally cheered and everybody laughed at me, and I was like, I'm ready. I will hit this so hard, everyone.
Did you do the Achy Breaky Heart? Did they make you
no, that's not one we did. Most of them I did not know today. The two I knew were the Electric Slide, which obviously is a classic from like the 70s or 80s, and the Cupid shuffle.
Okay.
Everything else was new to me.
Achy Breaky Heart's a big one from the 90s. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, I know the song. I don't know a line dance to it though.
I don't either, but I know it was a big thing. Anyway, we keep going off topic, but yes, we are here to talk about Nightcrawler, all things Nightcrawler, and of course, all things that are tangentially related to Miley Cyrus, because I mean, why not?
Now you have another thing I could talk about that has nothing to do with this. Stop this, Lisa.
I mean, that's why I brought up Achy Breaky Heart, just to stop talking, to bring it up.
Oh, okay, now I see where you got her from. Okay, that makes sense.
So we're going to discuss today, we're going to go back in time, step back in time a little bit, and we're going to talk about the first issue of X-Men Red, not the X-Men Red from the Krakoa era.
From 2018 by Tom Taylor and Mahmoud Asrar was the art and color artists. It depends on the issue, but Ives Forcina and Rain Burrito. Sorry if I butchered your name. I'm terrible at that.
It's all good, girl. I forgive you. I don't know if they will, but I do.
And the letterer is VC is Corey Petit. Don't worry, letterers. You're incredibly important.
Absolutely. So we wanted to go back and talk about this because I don't know, personally, my opinion, this is my favorite X-Men team, like in the past 20 years. This is my favorite X-Men team that has been written, period. Yeah. Like it's such a great team up. And what I really love about it is it takes several characters that are typically paired with other characters, but deliberately unpairs them. Like Jean and Scott, right? Or Jean and Scott. And of course, Jean is on her own in this. Scott has nothing to do with this.
Thank God. Do that more. I don't know why Marvel didn't learn from this, that Jean and Scott need to be separated. I will fight everyone on that. Separate them.
Absolutely. And then Gambit also is a big character in this run later on. We also have Namor, which I love. I love his character, and I like when they bring him into mutant stuff. So, and honestly, in rereading this first issue, it really, I don't know if it's intentional or unintentional, but it like really lays the groundwork for the Krakoa era very clearly.
Yeah, I don't know how intentional it was either, but I see what you're saying there. And then you've got Wolverine Laura, and then you've got Honey Badger, not Scout, Honey Badger, Gabby, her sister, and then of course we have Kurt. Don't worry, guys, Kurt is involved in this. All right, oh, yeah. We're focused today.
He's in right from the beginning. But so we start basically this issue with a little girl. She's waking up to a bunch of awful mutant haters coming after her because she must be a mutant, and even her mother is trying to kill her. I mean, it's I don't know, this issue got to me with like all of the stuff about children. I was like, okay, enough with the kids. But basically Jean steps in, the X-Men are there to save her. It's Jean, Kurt, it's Laura, and Honey Badger shows up as well.
I like the moment with when Kurt comes in and he looks at a little girl, goes, take my hand, it's a thing at the end of my wrist. Yes, that's 3 fingers, but still a hand.
I like that too, because that's a very, okay, I'm not disabled in any way, right? But like, I don't know, there's something about that like talks about that normalization of othering. You know what I mean? Because it's like, there are people on this earth who only have 3 fingers for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. They were born that way, or they were through an accident, or there are people they lack, I don't want to say it in a weird way, but they're different for whatever reason, but there's no reason to deny what and who they are, right? So I don't know. I thought that was kind of the way he explains it is like, I know it doesn't look like a hand, but it's a hand. So,
it's a very quick but poignant way to normalize that, right? Just like talk about the elephant in the room at the moment, which is his hand looks so different. Why does he only have 3 fingers? And then, he just, and that's all he had to do. It didn't take 5 pages to get over that.
However, there's another side to it I want to point out. And I wonder if Tom Taylor has any has had any experience in like trauma related, like working with people through trauma, because one of the big things that I've seen is, especially with children going through a traumatic experience, like a good way to move them through it is to distract them with something else. Do you know what I mean? It's like, kids are in a car accident and they're crying for their mother, and it's like their mother, of course, is, being worked on by whomever or whatever, for whatever reason. And you got to find a way to calm that kid down. And one way to do it is to distract them. And I think that could be another way to take that scene of him being like, let's not talk about all this other stuff. Let's talk about my weird hand. Like how about focus on my hand? Don't focus on all of the other horrible stuff happening around you, you know?
Yeah.
I think that could be another way to take it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think it's all taken into account. And yeah, that is really big with kids in general. Like, even if it's not something like that you would consider, super traumatic per se, but even if they're just really upset about something, finding something else they can focus on and kind of distracting them with it works so well with kids once you can figure out how to do it for that kid. Because every kid's different.
Yes.
But again, and the thing is, it also works on adults. I think we can at times be more stubborn. But it works on adults too.
There's that famous episode of The Office where they do the murder mystery because they're all waiting to find out about whether or not they're going to be fired. The whole branch is going to be fired. And there's that scene where, Jim is like, pulls Michael aside and is like, what the hell are you doing? Like, we're all waiting to find out if we're going to have our jobs or not. And you're just playing this stupid murder mystery. And Michael makes one of his greatest points that he, like, one of the, over the course of the series, he's not a great boss, but there are moments he has where it's like, wow, he really knows what he's doing. And in that moment, he says to Jim, like, there's nothing we can do except distract him. There's nothing we can do. So why don't we just, like, how about you focus on that side and I'll focus on keeping everybody calm and not freaking out about losing their job. And yeah, and it's true. It's absolutely true. So moving forward, Kurt then bamfs them all. And oh, guys, I didn't see this coming. It's actually Darkholm. He has a shark. The shark eats the kid. It's over. Done.
Yeah, I thought that was funny too. Because I was thinking, I was like, is he hinting or homaging to what I think he is?
I don't think it was, but I thought it was just like a cute little. And it reminded me also of the Meg. There's that scene in the Meg where the little girl is walking, and I'm gonna watch the Meg after this. That movie is so freaking good. Sorry, everybody. I've got a bit of a cold. So
yeah, she's struggling a bit, but it's okay, Lisa. We all believe in you. But yeah, so
that's why I'm literally like, and I'm also sweating my ass off. That's why I had to get up and turn the air conditioner on, and so I wasn't leaving you, Lauren. I promise.
No, I knew it. That's why I just kept going. But good. Yeah, see, you're in the north. You guys are weird. You guys are like, what's AC? And I'm like,
I live in AC.
Is every day, except unless it's like 20 degrees out.
No, I'm a 69 girl. I mean, like yeah, it's funny, but it literally 69 is like my perfect temperature. 69, keep it there, right there. Yeah. All right. So they end up in Cerebro, which, I mean, I love a pun. Who doesn't love a pun?
Okay, great job, Taylor. I like that. And that moment when Jean tells the kid that, she says two things I think are very important. That she gets off the bat once they're away from the danger immediately. She goes, "You're safe. And the hate can't reach you here." It's just so X-Men-y. It's so mutant, and it's so encompassing, all the isms and people, the outcast. Like this issue is already off to just a beautiful start easily.
And it also harkens back like the idea of like found community and family. You know what I mean? It's like this little girl just learned something about her that has changed the rest of her life. But there are these people here who've been through that and they can help her through it, which is really important, And so we're going back in time 2 months earlier to Roosevelt Island, New York, and a carjacking happens, and it turns out there's a baby in the back seat. I mean, don't you hate when that happens? I mean, check your back seat before you carjack people. That's all we have to say.
I mean, listen, I think it's a nice touch of comedy randomly. And of course, if you're like, oh my god, baby, listen, you know how this goes with X-Men. The Wolverines show up. You've got Wolverine and Honey Badger coming through.
Yeah, but the baby's a mutant, and the baby's got like some kind of crazy siren powers because he.
Yeah, like, it just launched both of them like meow, like what?
And it destroyed Laura's hand. Laura had her hand over his mouth, and her hand is now a skeleton hand.
It'll grow back. She'll be grand again. Don't worry about.
Yeah.
By the way, has anybody ever seen the movie Leap Year? It's with Amy Adams and some random guy I don't know. If you haven't, It's a rom-com. So if you don't like rom-coms, you won't like it. But if you like rom-coms, it's a really good one. It's a little bit more clever than the others, even though it came out like when I was in high school. But if you've seen it, then you know the part where the guy's just like, "Oh, don't worry about your suitcase. Oh, just brush it off. It'll be grand." And it's like a Louis Vuitton suitcase completely ruined.
Oh my god, I don't.
I would cry at that part.
just it's not even about it being Louis Vuitton. It's just about knowing how much those cost. That's all. You know what I mean? Because I'm not into designer stuff, but I'm into like money. As far not like having it as far as like, you know, being able to afford shit. And like if I were to treat myself to a Louis Vuitton anything and it got destroyed, I don't.
Oh, so
I don't know if I don't know if I've even told everybody my Louis Vuitton story where I bought the Louis Vuitton full of gay porn. Oh no, I did. I posted.
Yeah,
it on
you
Twitter.
did. Yeah.
Ask me about it later. So Jean shows up and she is literally mother because she takes that baby into her arms and the baby calms down because she
cradles him and she's like telepathically telling the kid, I won't let anyone hurt you. She gives the kid to the mom, and the mom seems responsive to everything. She's kind of advising of the mom about, you know, the kid clearly has immune abilities and such. Listen, this is why I love so much about this series just from the start. Jean is so much better when she's not involved with Scott or some shit, because then she can truly shine as a leader. There's no fucking distractions. It's just fucking fantastic. Like, and you're just, you know, people are just like, oh, but she's always a mom. You don't understand. I don't get to ever see Jean and like, you know, regular X-Men media now, like, be such a strong leader without Scott running up behind her or Xavier showing up or some dumb shit, you know?
Well, I mean, when you look at like the X-Men media, because they've, you know, it's like they can't stop going back to the Dark Phoenix in like the movies and stuff. And even in the TV shows, they just can't stop going back to the Dark Phoenix. And it's not like there's, it's not like that's bad, but it's just like, that's just not all of her story, because that part of her story takes a lot of her agency away. So, you know,
yeah, like, especially when that's all you focus on with her. Like, again, I love the Phoenix Saga. I love the original Dark Phoenix Saga. It's a classic for a reason. But why is her only identity the Phoenix and Scott a majority of time? I would argue.
Yeah,
that's not fair. You know.
But well, the next thing we get into is some of the stuff that I love about X-Men comics that I feel like is always missing. Is like just like I just want it to be. I know that there are these interplanetary and crazy, like monumental things the X-Men need to face, but I kind of like them also just having to face your everyday run-of-the-mill bigot, you know? Like everything doesn't have to be like, you know, world-ending stakes. It can just be an asshole who, like, you know, took a bat to the car, or, you know, it's just like I guess what I'm getting into, and I feel really weird about this because I feel like I'm slowly coming around to saying I love little bigots, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I like these kind of more like smaller stories that are more personally driven rather than like event driven, you know?
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And I feel like that's what the X-Men are about at their base level. I feel like the grand events and things like that should be on occasion for the X-Men, but the stuff that really grounds the X-Men is the day-to-day stuff, you know, and being able to connect to people, because no Marvel team at minimum, right? You could argue against the DC teams too, but no Marvel team at minimum compares to the X-Men. And there's many arguments you can make to that, but one of the biggest ones I would make is that the X-Men represent everybody. The Avengers don't represent the Fantastic Four, you know, not trying to shade any of these other groups, but they just don't have certain things that the X-Men do.
Because the X-Men, I mean, I think we've talked about this several times, but like there's a difference. Like, you don't become an X-Men because you want to. You become an X-Men because you have to. But you become an Avenger because you want to. And honestly, I feel like the Deadpool movie recently even kind of touched on that. Because, you know, he was trying his ass off to become an Avenger. And then they make a joke later about you couldn't make it as an X-Men, and they fucking take anybody. But that's the point. The point is like, to become an Avenger is like, it's like, I look at it, I mean, if you watch The Boys, it's the same as that's the Seven, right? It's you know, it's something to aspire to as a young superhero. But the thing is, not all mutants are superheroes. Not all mutants are capable of being superheroes. Not all mutants are like, so that's the thing about the X-Men, is that not every mutant's going to become an X-Man, but every mutant is welcome to join that family. Whether or not they're going to fight, they're welcome to join that, you know? So, and to go to that school and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's where that huge difference is between the two.
Right. Yeah. I completely agree.
Yeah. So Jean gets up there, and I think this is kind of interesting too, because I feel like, I mean, this was obviously written in 2018. It's not that long ago, but I think anybody who woke up from a coma of 20 years, let's say, today would be absolutely shocked at how divisive this world is and this everyone is. And that's her exact kind of feeling, is like the division and like the pain. And so, you know, she goes around and she starts, you know, recruiting smart people, including Black Panther, and has them all come for a meeting where she, you know, borrows their brains. And she's like, we're going to fix this. I'm going to find a way to fix it. And I'm going to like use you guys' brains to fix it too. And then our boy shows up, which, I mean, that's all we really care about, right? So, but all right, can I tell you something that's probably going to be unpopular opinion? I could dig Kurt and Jean in a relationship. I could totally dig that.
I think there's I think there's a way. There's a place that could happen if you wrote Jean differently and if you wrote Kurt differently. Kurt, I don't think you'd have to write differently. Jean, you would have to write a bit differently. I mean, kind of like in this series, how she's written, you know, again, she doesn't have all these, you know, oh my God, you know, everything comes back to Scott, or, you know, she seems very much her own individual. And with that, in a way, even though this might piss people off, I kind of agree with you that it's a possibility it could happen if things were different, things like that. Because like Jean is very much Kurt's type, other than like she's not blonde, but she's a hot, badass woman who can take care of things and run shit. She also is very empathetic and caring. Like,
yeah. She's, you know, I think that they have a lot in common, and I think we see that here. And we talked about this when we covered Uncanny issue 1 with Gail Simone about, I mentioned that, you know, the way that Rogue is going to recruit Kurt is the same way that Jean did here, which is to show him something that's hopeful, or to show him that there's something worth. Like, that's the thing with Kurt, is like, it's not to say that he's not on your side and he's not going to join your team no matter what, because he wants to support the people around him. But if you really want him to be behind you, like, there's got to be some kind of hope and positivity. He doesn't fight for negativity. He fights for positivity. So,
yeah,
you know, and it's a beautiful moment, and it's so cute because, you know, he, you know, he's, you know, he thinks it's beautiful. He's very happy to hear from her, and he's just like, let's do it. And she's like, what do you mean we? Like, and he's like, but you came here just to tell me about it, but not invite me to help you? Like, I'm coming. So, you know, they go down. She goes down to visit Namor, which, you know, Namor is sitting there. Like, I mean, I love how he's just like,
he's a slut. He's a slut. He's a whore. He's both those words. Some people, they're just a slut, or he is both immediately. Yeah.
I love that she mentions that there was like an anglerfish who was surprised to see her on her way down. And it's like, no, bitch, that anglerfish has seen so many women on their way up and down. Do you know how many times Sue Storm has been that way? I mean, come on.
Yeah. And I, you know, again, this just speaks, because I love this too, because Jean doesn't wait to go talk to other X-Men, Xavier, Scott. I mean, you know, even Storm at this point, which I wouldn't mind her talking to Storm because I like their friendship. I think we don't see that enough, in my opinion, nowadays. But regardless, all she does is she talks to Kurt. And once she gets one really close friend, trusted, kind of, you know, blessing, but also support and assistance, then she just says, I'm going to go talk to the guy running a fucking nation. He's pretentious as fuck and all this stuff, but he's running a nation. And she literally goes, you're a mutant League of Nation, and I'm not here for you alone, but I'm heading to United Nations. I need a country behind me. So Jean out of nowhere has no problem trying to get a country behind her. That's fucking amazing, dude.
I mean, and she knows how to get him to come. So she goes to the United Nations and essentially is like, you know, we just want to be respected as our own nation. Like, doesn't necessarily need to be a literal nation. It just, but you know, just respect us as a fucking people, you know?
Yeah. And like, honestly, I would love to see this made like into a movie if they actually honored the book and not fuck it up, you know, and that's tough to do. So hopefully they won't, because they probably ruin it. But I love this moment. To me, this feels like a very theatrical moment that reminds me of like Black Panther and stuff, where you know, you've got Jean making the statement to United Nations, and then Namor stands up and supports her as Atlantis. Then I think that's T'Challa.
Yeah, it is.
Wakanda comes in and everything. So it's a very great theatrical moment.
I want to touch on what you just said about like the movies and stuff. I feel like they would be doing the X-Men such a disservice to only do movies. If I were them, I would have like several different TV shows that were X-Men like teams, and then bring them together for movies that were like big events. That's what I would do, but that's just me. Because it just feels like how do you really, there's just so much and it's so dense and it's just, I personally, if you're going to do it, like give it to us real. Don't give us the same kind of watered down stuff we've been seeing. Like give us what we expect. But so, you know, she leaves, she thanks T'Challa for helping out. And the UK ambassador who was like, meh, 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 comes out to talk to her. And in chatting, all of a sudden she turns and her head explodes, just like on the boys.
Yeah, she was so dead from something. Namor saves Jean from some bullets, even though obviously she can save herself, but it kind of came out of nowhere, so that was still helpful.
I mean, to be fair, I don't know that Jean was in she literally had someone's head explode in front of her. She might have been distracted enough to not stop the bullets.
Oh, exactly. That's why I said too, like, it's fine. It wasn't like I don't see it as a issue there. And of course, Kurt comes in and he says we need to go. Jean's like, no, I need to talk to them. I need to. And he's like, nah, we gotta fucking dip. And then, guys, this is also a great choice though to read, because guess who's the villain of this storyline? Cassandra Nova.
She's the villain, and there are definitely parts of this series that they used in the Deadpool movie 1,000%. Like there are definitely like themes.
And there were, and we'll get to those.
No, we totally will. But I do want to point out that X-Men Red #2 has the beard on the cover, because this is the series where Kurt grows the beard, and it happens slowly over several issues. It like doesn't happen immediately, which is kind of funny. Like there's a couple issues where he's like super scruffy. But it's such a like, I just got dumped by a woman who turned out to be a lesbian kind of decision to make. Like, I'm gonna grow a beard. Fuck it.
He was like, oh, fuck, yeah, Jean and Scar is still a thing. Even though Jean's like this now, give it 6 months and here we go again. So
yeah, we also have coming up the wonderful moment where Jean's like, oh yeah, I knew about you fucking my daughter. I knew about it. And he's like, oh.
I love the way this issue ends. You got the little introduction of Cassandra Nova. And then you're seeing the X-Men and Namor, which he's considered X-Men here, so hot, get wrecked. You're seeing the X-Men standing there, and then the last line is, I can make them see red, which just makes me so happy because the series is called X-Men Red. Mm-hmm. So I'm just, little things like that, they just line up in my head so nicely.
And I want to say this is the first X-Men Red.
Yes, I believe so.
I think it is. Like, I don't think there was any other X-Men Reds before this.
I think it was just this, and then after, they did X-Men Red for Krakoa as well.
Yeah. Well, we'll be reading this over time. I mean, we'll, weave it in between other issues that we have coming up that are more recent, and of course, other things that happen in the Curtisphere. But yeah, Lauren, where can they find you?
On Twitter at friendlymBHDBI. I am also on Discord. I'm trying to use that a bit more because I enjoy being able to like connect with good people without all the other noise, I guess, of like assholes and stuff like that. Yeah. So if you want to add me on Discord, just let me know. It's the same thing. It's friendlymBHDBI because they changed how they do usernames on there now.
Awesome. All right. And if you want to find us, you can find us at simplyamazingpod.com. All of our socials are there. Twitter, Facebook. We're on Discord as well. We've got the Nightcrawler Discord there, so you can come find us. So yeah, let us know what you think. Let us know if you enjoyed X-Men Red as well. If you hated it, don't tell us. We don't want to hear about it because we loved it. All right. I personally loved it. Again, it's one of my favorite recent X-Men runs and recent X-Men teams, period. But yeah, come find us, talk to us, interact with us. And if you are out there listening to this and you have female pattern baldness, you are simply amazing, unless you're Cassandra Nova.